In today's video, we revisit one of our most popular videos we've ever made. It's Gibson versus Tokai 3, a battle between American and Japanese craftsmanship. Who will win, the Les Paul or the Love Rock? Let's find out. Hey guys, welcome back to Squealing Pig Guitars, the home of luxury string machines here in Nottingham, England. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a comparison between the Gibson Les Paul Standard and the Tokai Love Rock model. As I mentioned, we did this video about 2 years ago where I compared a USA Standard and a Tokai Love Rock model. But we didn't have the same developed set that we did now, so it's quite an old video, but it is actually one of our highest viewed videos on this YouTube channel. So since we've got a new Tokai in, I thought it'd only be appropriate to compare these two great single cut models. If you don't know already, Tokai is a massive guitar and bass manufacturer in Japan. They're best known for recreating Gibson's designs and getting away kind of with shady trademarks. But a lot of people know that the Tokai models are some of the best replications of Gibson products in Asia. They are by no means Gibson guitars or cheap guitars. They are extremely highly crafted Japanese products. So first off, let's take a look at the Tokai Love Rock model. Obviously, there's no hiding that this is a Les Paul copy or replica, whatever kind of name you want to use, but it's a very close Les Paul replica. It's very much reminiscent of the original 59 design, so you even have a proper ABR1 bridge on this one. Although it's not licensed by Gibson, it's drilled directly into the top how a ABR1 bridge will be used, and you have the thumb wheels. We have these zebra pickups which really offset that kind of lemon drop finish really nicely. It kind of looks a little bit like the Appetite for Destruction guitar. Got a cherry faux aniline die on the back. Obviously this is not aniline, but it's got that kind of cherry look to it. We're a rosewood fingerboard. We've got them kind of trapezoid inlays. Tokai is obviously Love Rock model silkscreen with the logo and the kind of Clouson S tuners. In terms of the construction of this guitar, got mahogany body, maple top, mahogany neck, 59 profile, very rounded, probably a little bit smaller than the example we had from Gibson. One thing I really like about this guitar, and I wish Gibson would do this more often on their guitars, is it actually has tortoiseshell binding. So you can see that slight brown hue across the guitar, which is really, really attractive. If you don't know already, all the 59 and 58 guitars from Gibson actually have tortoiseshell inlays on the side dots. Very hard to see, they usually just look black in most lights, but if you get your torch from your phone and shine them onto the inlay, you'll see that it's slightly translucent material and has a slight brown, reddish hue like this binding. This quilt maple top is most likely a veneer to my expectation anyway, as these guitars were made in Japan, and obviously a lot lower price point than the Gibson example. We have a lot of Gibson DNA with the ribbon and treble switch, the zebra pickups which are voiced to be a bit PAF-y, the very low output. I found that they were a little bass heavy, but they still sounded good. Got a really nice fret job in this. This is one of the nicest Tokais I've played. Japanese guitars are always made to like the highest degree. You really shouldn't look at kind of the country of origin as a way of kind of signifying a guitar's quality these days. Pretty much every guitar from everywhere, if you pay enough money, is gonna play amazingly. Got a nice, very nicely cut bone nut on this one, and it's basically everything you'd want from a Les Paul. Obviously, yes, it doesn't say Gibson on the headstock, but it has the same feel as like a USA Gibson. It feels really, really nice to play. And here's what we're comparing it to, the original Gibson Les Paul. And I have to say, this is a mighty fine example of a 59 reissue, We've had this one in for a couple of months now, and I keep playing because it just plays amazingly. We've actually got this off our friend John Cow, and basically it's a very similar aesthetic to the guitar. So we've got two zebra pickups. We've got a bit more of a sunburst, like a heritage cherry type burst, some more red on the outside going into more of a yellow. But in terms of the appointments, very similar. So we have the ABR1 bridge. This is the original one, obviously, so it's drilled right into the top, as you can see, just like the Tokai. Got the stop tailpiece. We have the classic thumb bleeder. They're basically used to show you what number of volume or tone that you're on, so you can see. This has the 59 profile, which I have to say feels very, very similar to the Tokai. I'd say that this Gibson is a little bit thicker in the middle, so it has a little bit less pronounced shoulders. You can see here where we have the tortoiseshell side inlays, where you can see in there with the light, but we've got cream binding on this one, which is patinaed out a little bit, as this has a VOS finish on it. We've got a very highly figured flamed maple top, and this one has a really nice beauty to it. It's got that kind of wider flame, which a lot of people find attractive. Obviously mahogany back, a lot more figuring on this mahogany, and we've got a little bit more of a washed out cherry look, which I really like. It's a little bit less in your face, and we have that mahogany neck. We've got the real Cluson Gibson Deluxe tuners. You turn our headstock around, we've obviously got that golden Gibson logo with the ambered over lacquer and the Les Paul silkscreen. Rosewood fingerboard and celluloid trapezoid inlays, and it just feels amazing. It's a Les Paul. So first off, let's compare the tones from both of these guitars. I'm going to play the same riffs and go back and forth using the same amp settings on my Kemper. So let's start off with the Tokai. I'm going to be first playing the riffs I played in the intro of this video, which was my cover of Living on a Prayer. I'm in E flat tuning, and this is kind of the fuzzy tone that I use for the main riff. So straight off the bat, you can really hear the difference in tone between these two Les Pauls. The Gibson has a lot more of a brighter sound, having a lot more treble and high-range, mid-range frequencies on the solo lines, whereas the Tokai is a lot more bass-heavy and sounds a little bit more woolly in areas. I used the exact same fuzz pedal and tube screamer kind of mashup on this demo, so I didn't change my settings at all. It's important to note as well that these guitars do weigh differently. The Tokai comes in at 9 pounds 4 ounces, and the Les Paul is a little bit lighter at 8 pounds. Whether that makes a tonal difference, I'm unsure, but I do think that the pickups in both these guitars are very, very different indeed, and that's where the bass frequencies are coming from on the Tokai. Again, the same thing happened there. The Gibson had a lot more treble and presence to the tone, whereas the Tokai sounded a little bit more muffled. You can't deny that the Gibson has that classic kind of appetite for destruction tone that you don't get from the Tokai. And I have to say that the Tokai does sound a little bit more muffled in today's demo in comparison. The Gibson is very raucous, it's kind of very alive sounding, whereas the Tokai sounds a little bit dead in comparison. But that's just my opinion. So let's move on to the neck pickup and see if the Tokai can be saved. My ear, the Tokai's neck pickup is definitely voiced better than the bridge pickup. The bridge pickup sounds quite underpowered, whereas the neck has a lot of bass end and a lot of articulation, a bit more like a Gibson humbucker, for example. But still in this, in this excerpt of tone demo, I do prefer the Gibson tone. I think it sounds more like the slash tone and more attuned to my ear. So let's get a little bit more of a cleaner tone dialed in on my AC30 Kemper profile and see how both these guitars react.
So for the clean demo, I was a little bit more surprised. The Gibson seemed to push the amp a little bit more than the Tokai, which would suggest that the Tokai's pickups are a lot lower output. Yet there was still more bass end created on the Tokai, so they must have some really woolly pickups in there, which I wouldn't say sound like PAFs. PAFs should be quite bright and brittle, and they definitely don't have that tonal characteristic. Whereas the Gibson, especially on the really clean Knocking on Heaven's Door part I was doing, I think sounded incredible and had that classic Gibson sound. To wrap up the demo, I'm just going to do a loop on the Tokai to hear how the pickups react with a loop pedal.
So guys, most importantly, what is the conclusion to this video? Well, both of these guitars are incredible looking and playing instruments. The only thing that makes them different is their price tag. The Gibson Les Paul is extremely expensive, coming in around £5,000, whereas the Tokai is a more conservative £2,000. However, when you look at both these guitars, I think you can tell which one's more expensive. The Gibson has a lot more of a kind of complex finish. The finish itself looks better made, a little bit thinner, and the woods that are used are more highly figured and thicker. That's not to say that the Tokai isn't great. I love the fact that it uses the ABR1 bridge system and has the same kind of pronounced neck as a 59 Les Paul. In terms of playability, the Tokai was incredible, but the only problem I had was the pickups were very muddy sounding. A PAF or a custom bucker should sound very brittle, have a very bright tone which has a very kind of low gain approach, just like the 59 reissue. Whereas I find the Tokai really didn't have that. However, if you put the custom buckers in the Tokai, you're going to have one screaming guitar in my opinion. So for me, the only thing that puts the Gibson Les Paul ahead of the Tokai is the fit and finish, the look of the guitar and the branding and stuff like that, and the tone. The tone of that Gibson Les Paul is way better in my personal opinion. When recording it, when playing the Guns N' Roses riffs, when playing Living on a Prayer, them classic rock hits, the Gibson tone is just there. It's high in mid-range and treble, it cuts through any mix, whereas I found the Tokai was a little bit too bass heavy, a little bit muddy, it didn't cut through as well. But is it worth the price difference? Well, that is completely your own decision when we're buying a guitar. Personally, I would rather pay the extra money and get that extra level of tone or playability or whatever it is that makes it sound better. That's the guitar I would go for. So in this video, I'm going to have to say that the winner is the Gibson Les Paul Standard. But the Tokai is a very, very noble second place, and it's an incredible guitar for a budget. But most importantly, guys, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think? Do you prefer Gibson or do you prefer Tokai? And if you own a Gibson Les Paul or a Tokai Love Rock model, let me know in the comment section below. I'm really eager to hear about your guys' collection. Let's get this video to a higher view count than the original Gibson Tokai video. Let's try and beat 20,000 views, that would be incredible. So make sure to like down below, subscribe and share this video so many people can see it. But thank you so much for your support guys, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Squealing Pig Guitars. But until then, keep rocking guys, I'll see you soon.